This is the latest movie from Stephen Merchant, who you might know from a bunch of different things, but he's probably best known as the co-creator of the original Office series in the UK, which I loved, and I've liked a lot of other things he's done since too. So I'm a fan, but when I first heard about this movie, I would have never guessed he's the person behind it. Because this movie is about wrestling, as in pro wrestling, as in the WWE. You know, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, The Rock, those guys. Not actual wrestling that's a competitive sport, but the entertainment variety that's on TV and fills major arenas. And for some reason I would have never thought Stephen Merchant would make a movie about that. But after watching it, it makes a lot more sense, because as much as it is about wrestling, and it's definitely about that, it's also a very human story. A story about this British family that's pretty much consumed by wrestling. They live it and breathe it and have some grand aspirations when it comes to the two kids, a son and a daughter, who both want nothing more than to be in the WWE. That's the basic premise here, their journey to achieve their dream. But it's not that easy, and there are some major hurdles on the way. But the first thing I liked about this movie was definitely the humor. It's kinda raunchy and not exactly kid-friendly, but it worked, I liked it. And I have to mention, there's a scene with The Rock where he goes on this rant, and it caught me completely off guard, and I haven't laughed that hard at a movie in a while. It just sorta came out of left field, and I mean, my stomach hurt, I was laughing so hard. That being said, unfortunately this had a bit of a similar issue as Finding Steve McQueen. When it comes to the humor, it starts off strong, packs in a lot of comedy, but the further along it goes, the less of that is in there. Which is a bit of a shame, but in this one I didn't really mind it that much, because it focuses a lot more on the story and the characters, and their struggles to come to grips with things and to adjust. And that part ended up being compelling enough that I wasn't really missing the humor that much. Which brings me to the second thing I liked about this movie, the acting and the writing of the characters. Because this family feels like a family, they genuinely seem like they care about each other, and the chemistry between all of them is pretty much effortless. So that then got me engaged with the story and got me invested. And overall it's a really well made movie, pretty much on every level. The writing's sharp, it's well directed, it looks good, the acting's really solid. I honestly can't really find anything that didn't work in this. That's not to say it's fantastic, but it's incredibly solid and just works. And you know how I know it works. I was tearing up at a few points. And at the end I was genuinely crying, which I did not see coming. Even as I was watching it, it caught me by surprise just how much I actually cared about these characters. But it shouldn't have, because Stephen Merchant knows how to write compelling stuff. And I already knew that. I just didn't expect a story about a wrestling family to get to me. But he hits the right emotional beats and I couldn't help but to be engaged by it. And another thing he did well too was bridging the cultural divide, I guess you could say, between the UK and the US. Between this less than glamorous family from Norwich and this billion-dollar entertainment industry. Because, you know, he's very familiar with that journey himself. He started out in the UK writing this little TV show, probably on a pretty strict budget. And now he's had his own HBO show and is writing and directing movies. And that first-hand experience just makes the whole thing feel that much more authentic. I mean, here's the thing, I don't think this movie does anything new or remarkable. No individual element really blew me away or impressed me that much. There's not much I can point to apart from a few details that I really loved. But what it does well, and as a whole it just ended up working. And I really don't have many complaints either, it's just really solid. And it has a lot of heart too, and that made it compelling and emotionally engaging to me. So yeah, this one surprised me to say the least. I laughed and I cried. And I really enjoyed it, but would I recommend it? Yes, definitely. So you should probably give it a shot. Or don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself a neon green spandex suit. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.